In the summer of 1920, Charles Ponzi held over $15 million in investor cash, backed by just $30 in physical assets. He promised to double your money in 90 days, claiming a legal loophole with international reply coupons made it possible. From factory workers to police officers, thousands flooded Boston, desperate to hand over their life savings. Yet the math behind the original Charles Ponzi scheme was a lie. To cover his promises, he needed 160 million coupons, when only 27,000 existed on Earth. When the house of cards collapsed, millions vanished. Some suspect he secretly funneled the cash to hidden crime bosses. Hi, welcome to another episode of The Score High. I am Alina Stone. July 1920. Downtown Boston. Inside room 228 at 27 School Street, cash was everywhere. Greenbacks stuffed in unlocked desk drawers. Thousands overflowing from trash cans. Leather satchels bursting at the seams. Yet, beneath this paper avalanche, the true Charles Ponzi scheme mystery was only beginning to deepen. Where was the vault? Where was the real ledger? No double entry books. No corporate audit. Just thousands of flimsy 3x5 index cards crammed into wooden crates. Ponzi claimed he was making millions arbitrage trading international reply coupons, a forgotten postal loophole turning pennies into gold. Except the math was an utter impossibility. To deliver his promised 50% returns, Ponzi needed over 180 million coupons circulating worldwide. Official postal audits revealed a chilling contradiction. Only 27,000 coupons existed on the entire planet. If the coupons weren't real, where was the money coming from? And more terrifyingly, where was it going? The clues led across town to Hanover Trust Company. Ponzi had quietly purchased controlling interest in the bank. Its president, Henry C.H. Milinski, was permitting massive, uncollateralized overdrafts, masking phantom accounts with daily piles of fresh cash. On July 30, 1920, Ponzi hired Boston publicist William H. McMasters to silence the press. But the second McMasters walked into the office, he knew something was deeply wrong. No international drafts. No foreign receipts. Just raw, uncounted cash. Some suspect McMasters was already collaborating with rival financiers before signing on. Legend has it, a private payoff ledger was stashed inside Hanover Trust, a hidden black book listing corrupt officials paid off to protect the enterprise. It is speculated that unaccounted millions were secretly funneled to shadowy contacts abroad while the city celebrated. Every clue raised 10 more questions. Nothing added up. And the clock was rapidly ticking down. To reconstruct how this massive machine operated, we have to step inside room 228 at 27 School Street. At the center stood Charles Ponzi, orchestrating the chaos. Alongside him, head clerk Lucy Melly processed endless piles of incoming bills, while field agents earned lucrative 10% commissions, recruiting eager investors across New England. To keep the scam alive, Ponzi needed to bypass state banking security. Enter Henry S.C.H. Milinski, president of Hanover Trust Company. Ponzi quietly purchased controlling shares of the bank. In return, C.H. Milinski permitted Ponzi to write enormous, uncollateralized overdraft checks, masking phantom accounts with daily cash deposits. The illusion held until the relentless Charles Ponzi scheme investigation of 1920 smashed through the front door. On July 26, 1920, financial publisher Clarence W. Barron dropped a bombshell audit in the Boston Post. Barron exposed the mathematical impossibility. To cover his liabilities, Ponzi needed 160 million international reply coupons. Global postal records proved only 27,000 coupons actually existed worldwide. Suffolk County District Attorney Nathan A. Tufts stepped in, forcing Ponzi to halt accepting new deposits. When panicked crowds surged outside his School Street office, Ponzi deployed brilliant psychological warfare. He walked straight into the angry mob, handing out hot dogs, donuts, and coffee. Remarkably, hundreds left without redeeming a single dollar. Desperate to control the press, Ponzi hired publicist William H. McMasters on July 30 for $5,000. It was a fatal miscalculation. Granted unrestricted access to internal files, McMasters searched for proof. He found no foreign bank drafts, no coupon purchase orders, and no debenture ledgers. Some suspect McMasters was already working with rival investigators long before he took Ponzi's money. On August 2, McMasters published a front-page exposé in the Boston Post, revealing Ponzi was hopelessly insolvent and simply using new investor cash to pay off old claims. The endgame unfolded with brutal speed. On August 11, Massachusetts Bank Commissioner Joseph C. Allen led state examiners and police into Hanover Trust, forcibly seizing the bank to end the illegal overdrafts. Legend has it, during the midnight hours preceding the raid, satchels overflowing with unaccounted cash were smuggled out of safe deposit boxes to hidden accomplices in Montreal. On August 12, 1920, federal authorities arrested Charles Ponzi. Official audits confirmed a devastating $7 million shortfall. The grand facade was shattered. The original scheme had finally collapsed. When federal agents smashed through the door of room 228, they expected a sophisticated financial operation. Instead, they found a crime scene drenched in chaos. The painstaking Charles Ponzi forensic evidence audit began the moment certified public accountant Edwin L. Pride stepped inside. Pride and bankruptcy receivers searched for standard corporate records. There were no debenture ledgers, no balance sheets, no bank reconciliation files. Instead, investor records consisted entirely of thousands of 3x5 paper index cards, shoved into wooden crates, shoe boxes, and desktop trays. In unlocked desk drawers and wastebaskets, auditors pulled out loose stacks of uncounted greenbacks. Then came the smoking gun. U.S. Postmaster General Albert S. Burleson ordered a global forensic check of international postal records. The result was staggering. To support his promises, Ponzi needed millions of coupons. In reality, Charles Ponzi had purchased a grand total of only $61 worth of international reply coupons during his entire operation. Across town, Massachusetts Bank Commissioner Joseph C. Allen inspected Hanover Trust Company. The bank's ledgers exposed systematic corruption. Bank President Henry S. C. H. Milinski had permitted Ponzi to run massive, uncollateralized overdrafts exceeding $2 million, using daily cash rushes to hide the bank's own impending collapse. Hanover Trust was permanently liquidated. Then came the question that haunts historians to this day: where was the rest of the money? Investors deposited nearly $15 million. Redemptions paid back $9 million. Overhead and commissions consumed $2 million more. Roughly $3 to $7 million had completely vanished. Some suspect head clerk Lucy Melly held a secret ledger tracking off-the-books wire transfers. Others believe cash was smuggled out in leather satchels before investigators arrived. Justice moved fast. On November 30, 1920, Ponzi pleaded guilty in federal court to mail fraud and was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. State authorities weren't finished. After completing his federal sentence, Massachusetts tried Ponzi for larceny, convicting him as a common and notorious thief with a 7 to 9 year sentence. While out on appeal bail in 1925, Ponzi fled south to Jacksonville, Florida, adopting the alias Charles Borelli. He launched a new scheme, the Charpon Land Syndicate, selling swampy Florida land with promises of 200% returns. Florida police caught him, but while appealing a 5-year sentence, Ponzi vanished again. In June 1926, the pursuit reached a frantic climax. Ponzi fled to Tampa, shaved his head, grew a mustache, and slipped into New Orleans. Disguised as a crewman, he boarded the Italian freighter Sic Vos non vobis, aiming for international waters. It is speculated that before boarding, Ponzi buried satchels of physical cash deep in the Florida wilderness, intending to retrieve them years later. He never got the chance. A sharp-eyed sailor recognized his face. When the freighter docked in Galveston, Texas, federal marshals swarmed the deck, pinning Ponzi against the railing. Extradited back to Massachusetts, Ponzi served his full prison term. In February 1934, he walked out of prison straight into the arms of federal immigration officers, who deported him to Italy forever. Behind him lay a trail of shattered lives, ruined banks, and a financial crime so infamous it guaranteed his name would live on in darkness. Decades after the dust settled, the Charles Ponzi scheme competing theories continue to divide forensic investigators and historians alike. The official government narrative remains straightforward. Federal prosecutors and auditor Edwin L. Pride presented Charles Ponzi as a brilliant, lone imposter. In their eyes, it was a pure, self-contained pyramid scheme. Ponzi promised impossible 50% returns, relying entirely on new victim cash to pay off early deposits. Official post office audits proved he bought only $61 worth of postal coupons. The system was mathematically doomed, exposed by publisher Clarence W. Barron and publicist William H. McMasters. Ponzi's November 1920 guilty plea sealed the official verdict. Case closed. Or was it? A second, far darker theory points directly toward systemic corruption inside New England's financial elite. Was Charles Ponzi truly acting alone? Look closely at Hanover Trust Company. Bank President Henry S.C.H. Malinsky didn't just store Ponzi's money. He permitted Ponzi to acquire controlling shares and run massive, uncollateralized overdrafts exceeding $2 million. Hanover Trust used Ponzi's daily cash surges to cover its own hidden insolvency and bad commercial loans. When State Bank Commissioner Joseph C. Allen closed in, the dynamic shifted rapidly. Some suspect William H. McMasters was actually a double agent, secretly recruited by rival banking powers to expose Ponzi before he completely took over Hanover Trust. Legend has it, a secret black ledger existed inside the bank, a hidden document listing high-ranking Boston police officers and politicians who received guaranteed, off-the-books payouts to look the other way. Then comes the mystery of the missing money. Auditors calculated nearly $15 million deposited. $9 million was returned to investors. $2 million went to 10% agent commissions and operational overhead. That left up to $7 million completely unaccounted for. Where did Ponzi's missing millions go? It is speculated that cash satchels were smuggled across the Canadian border to former associates connected to Louis Zarossi's bank in Montreal, where Ponzi worked years earlier. Ponzi himself offered a defiant defense, writing, "I had given them the best show ever staged in New England." Was Charles Ponzi a solo criminal mastermind? A puppet used by corrupt bankers? Or a convenient fall guy for Boston's political elite? The evidence leaves dark shadows over every answer. August 1920. The house of cards comes crashing down. The total take, $15 million. That is over $200 million today. When the smoke cleared, a shattered public demanded justice. What was the Charles Ponzi scheme final verdict and legacy? For over a decade, bankruptcy receivers clawed through the wreckage. In the end, devastated investors recouped a mere 30 cents on the dollar. But millions were simply gone. Up to $7 million, completely untraceable. Where did the loot go? Some suspect Ponzi funneled cash into hidden offshore accounts. Legend has it, a small fortune in unmarked bills was buried beneath the floorboards of a dusty Boston row house. The truth remains buried with him. The fallout destroyed everyone in his circle. Hanover Trust was permanently liquidated. Whistleblower William McMasters gained national fame for exposing the fraud, while the Boston Post won a Pulitzer Prize for tearing the scam apart. Ponzi's loyal wife, Rose, stood by him through long years behind bars, until she finally let go, granting an amicable divorce in 1937. Deported to Italy, then scraping by in Rio de Janeiro, Ponzi could never outrun his ghosts. On January 18, 1949, the ultimate con man died penniless in a charity hospital ward. Half-blind, paralyzed, tossed into a pauper's grave. Yet his name became immortal. The term Ponzi scheme became the permanent legal label for financial deception, exposing broken systems and helping shape modern SEC regulations forever. Did he stash a hidden fortune, or did it all burn up in the rush? Tell us your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this gritty true crime journey into history's greatest financial scam, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more dark historical reveals.